audience are somewhat aware. I had the great pleasure of reading your book recently and blown away by your story, but could you talk about your kind of God moment and what ultimately turned your life around?
Oh, man. You know, let me give you the quick condensed version here. You know, I grew up, I believed in God, I knew who Jesus was, but I didn't really go to church. I did go to church. I went to church on the weekends with my aunt and uncle, but most of the time I was playing ball. You know, so we were traveling on the weekends and things like that. So just quickly, you know, if you guys, parents, kids are traveling, you are traveling on weekends, just get in the Word with your kids. If you're missing church, just find some way to get in there. Let's see. You know, I tell everybody I accepted Christ when I came back from my rookie season after being drafted in '99. I had a couple of things happen to me in Princeton, West Virginia, which is a place where things can happen to you. And it was, I knew that something was missing in my life, and I knew that was a relationship with Christ. So I came back home, you know, and I was living room and said the prayer, you know, tears, but did absolutely nothing to pursue a relationship with Christ. So didn't get in the Word, didn't, you know, pray, didn't fellowship with other believers, didn't go to church, didn't do anything. Just kept living the same way I was living. And so I didn't have any foundation established when, you know, trials and difficulties would come along. So car accident, the two things that were consistent in my life were my parents and baseball. And those things were removed from my life from that moment. And I didn't have that foundation, like I said, relationship with Christ to lean on, depend on, to turn to at that time, which I should have been doing on a daily basis. So turned to getting tattoos, hanging out, seeking things, trying to fill the hole. Tattoo parlor, hanging out, drugs, alcohol, all the things. You know, I thought, well, I was looking for the answer, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it in these things. So, you know, I got a story on my body, tattoos. You know, spiritual warfare is what I call it. You know, demon faces, devil faces, no eyes, no soul. A cross on my calf with Christ's face in the back, and wasn't getting them in any particular order, but they told a story, and didn't realize it until years later, but they did definitely tell a story. Long story short, started the drugs, alcohol, went to, let's see, I was suspended for 3.5, we'll skip a couple of years. Suspended for 3.5 years. Actually got married, met my wife. We met in high school, met her in high school. We got married. Shortly after, I was suspended from baseball. She didn't know me as a baseball player. She just knew me as Josh. So we got married 2004. She got pregnant, and I was sober at the time. She got pregnant in November. No, we got married in November, we got pregnant in December, sorry, honey. I gotta get this right. And then I relapsed in January. So it was very real, the addiction. And still, you know, like I said, I thought I had received Christ in '99, but really hadn't. And still was angry at God and just, you know, yelling at God, and how could you do this to me? And, you know, why would you do this and all this? When all in actuality is my decisions, my choices. So, wife kicks me out of the house. I go to my grandmother's house. You know, I weighed, you know, 230 right now. I weighed 180 pounds when I showed up at her door. And she took me in. And over the next month or so, actually 3 weeks, I was using drugs in my grandmother's house, which was probably the person I loved most in my life at that time. So, using her house, she actually confronted me one night. I came out of the back bedroom, actually high, and she confronted me and told me in that moment all the things that everybody who had loved me, or who loved me, told me in the past, you know, you're a better person than this. We love you. You can do great things. We know you can put your life together. You know, all these things she told me, but God opened my heart and just cleared my mind. Remember I said I was high on drugs. He cleared my mind, opened my heart, and allowed me to see that pain, that hurt on her face, and the tears running down her face. And for the first time, I actually understood it. I understood that I wasn't just hurting myself. I was hurting. I was impacting a lot of people around me, my wife, kids, parents, anybody I came in contact with, I was impacting their life. And so I went in the back bedroom, and when I had gotten to my grandmother's house, she had a Bible in the back bedroom, and I grabbed it and I put it deep in the closet under all the clothes because I didn't want to see it, didn't want to look at it. And after we got finished talking, went in that back bedroom, dug out, closed the door, dug out the Bible, threw it on the bed, and if you know my story, you know this is a big part. Threw it on the bed, shut the door, come back, first verse I read, James 4:7, humble yourself before God, resist the devil, and he'll flee from you. And in that moment is when I really believed I accepted Christ, when I totally surrendered everything and said, Lord, I said, my way's not working. I said, I need you in my life. I need you to take complete control of it, and I'll do whatever you have for me. And in that moment, all the things I told you that I didn't do the first time I thought I received Christ, I started doing. I started praying. I started getting in the Word. I started fellowshipping with other believers. I started going to church. I started doing all the things it took to make that 180, that turn from my old ways and pursue the new ways of Christ and relationship with Christ. And that moment, over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, you know, I'm sober. God starts restoring things quickly, restoring my relationship with my wife, restoring my relationship with my kids, puts godly men in my life. But I'm not afraid to ask for help. I'm not afraid to say, you know what, I don't know the answer. I'm weak. I'm struggling here like I was then. You know, and it was just humbling yourself till you can't humble yourself anymore. And just, you know what, Barry said, I surrender completely. And like I said, restoring things. Relationship, wife, kids. And then, you know what, I was supposed to take a drug test 3 times a week for a year before they'd even think about letting me into baseball. And within 6 months, I was reinstated to baseball. And then the next year, I was with the Reds in the big leagues. Had never been in the big leagues before. And you can't tell me that's not God. Because I was just trying to be obedient and saying, okay, Lord, on a daily basis, taking up my cross, surrendering, and just, you know what do you have for me today? I'll do it. And you know what, it works. Every day it works. But what I said before, sometimes I try to take a little control back. Oh, you know what, I got that. Don't worry about that, I got that. And end right back up, way back there. And says, all right, are you ready to give it to me again? Okay, here you go. So, you know what? Satan wants us to dwell on our mistakes, and he wants to keep us in the past. And Christ wants us to, you know what, learn from that, keep focused, keep our eyes on him, and move forward and move towards him. And you know what? Satan wants us to he just wants us to take our eyes off just for a split second. And that's what he wants. I got to stay focused on where and what I want to do.